Here's the question. How do you make the impossible possible? Simple. Remove the I am, the ego. Now, how do you step into that newfound possibility? With a series of small intentional steps. Never forget, the greatest among us started from humble beginnings. But to truly unlock your potential, realize you're here for something greater. If you're yearning for more than just a good life, let's take that small step together to reach greatness. Welcome to the Greatness from Small Beginnings podcast, where we're talking to those who have gone from mediocrity to motivated, overlooked to overachieving, forgettable to unforgettable. Are you ready? Let's go.
Good to be back. As I promised, I would have some guests this year, and I have somebody visiting with me, which I'm glad, and I'll introduce the relationship that we have together, but we'll get started before I do that. Her name is Kimber Hudelson, and I won't even get into how long we have known each other, and some of the backstory that she might not even know, which will be super fun to share in a public setting, right?
There you go.
Yeah. So as you all know, the subject, can kind of read it on the shirt, Greatness from Small Beginnings. Everywhere we are in life, we have a past that is less than great, even though we've done some great things, right? And so it doesn't matter if we're 17 or if we're 61. We still have things to achieve that God put us on this earth to do, to be, for ourselves, for others, and then for the broader sense, the kingdom of God, the world, our community, all those things, right? So the question I'd like to ask with guests is, tell the audience if you were just to define a working definition of greatness for you, that one that you're, of course, willing to live out, right? Then what would that be?
I would say, when you've reached your limit, pushing yourself past that's greatness. Okay.
Well, that being said, how do we find that spot? That when do we know we've reached our limit?
I don't know. I don't think we have a limit. I think it kind of depends on where we are in life. I think that we kind of go through trials, and those kind of build us up for our greatness. But ultimately, God has a plan for us, and that is our greatness. So I feel like it's living out the purpose that He's given us.
Okay. I agree with all of that. But you said in that definition that once we get to a point where we've reached, I don't know, I'm not going to put words in your mouth necessarily, but add a couple words for now. When we reach a wall, when we hit a stopping point, or we emotionally are like, I've had it, right? Well, how do we know we're there, or if we're just 70% there?
Well, when we talked, you talked about how you guys are in a point right now in your business where it's you have so much coming in and it's overwhelming, too much, but you're soon to greatness. You're gonna be there. You just have to live in the storm that you're in right now, and kind of, like you said, surf the wave.
Yeah, the wave, right?
Don't give up on surfing the wave, and just kind of push past it.
Yeah, and I'll tell that story just a little bit. I'm not a surfer. I've tried it once for one period of time in my life over a couple of days. Never really succeeded because it's harder than it looks. But if I would go, like most do, and go search that perfect wave, and settle for less sometime. But that perfect wave, that would be, or perfect, put in quotes, a really good one, right? Well, once you get on that, it doesn't seem like it's in the surfer mentality. It's the idea is not to just bail out. You get a ways and you just quit. No. If you're going to be out in the water, you're going to take a risk and you're going to go for it, right? And that is what our business has done in us and for us. And it feels like it's going to crash over the top sometimes. How in your life, what's going on lately that feels like it could happen like that?
Well, I'm at the point in my life where I'm trying to decide a career path, and I was in between nursing and cosmetology school.
Mhm.
Cosmetology school has a lot of good things for me because it's like I can talk about my faith, I can own my own business, I can expand it, reach people in a way that I couldn't nursing.
Mhm.
Nursing, it's unprofessional to share your faith. That's not something that's
Mhm.
heard of. It's deemed unprofessional. That's what people would look down on it as. But I feel like nursing was just my way of like going with the flow. Well, everybody says you got to go to college these days. So I was like,
Go to college, make some
nursing,
money.
yeah, make money, yeah. So nursing was just there,
Mhm.
easy.
And it's
I
a
would,
family, other people have
Mhm.
done it, and you've seen the success,
yeah,
right?
it
Yeah.
would have been doable, but it is not my passion. And so that was like a breaking point of that way for me. It just was all coming at me at once, and I was just like, I don't know what to
Mm.
I don't know what to do. I was ready to throw the towel in and just be like, I'm done. I don't know what I want to do with myself. But then it's like God spoke to me in a way that was so personal and was like, gave me a mentor, revealed that she was my mentor. And that has been like so transformative for me because it's just like, it's clear now what I should be doing with myself.
That's always good. I remember about 3 years ago, sat down with a group at work and we worked through a process. Somebody helped us, and I walked away from the very first meeting. It was a series of meetings. And for the first time in my life, I'd felt like I had some clarity on who I was, what my role was, and all of that. And that was a huge day for me.
Yeah.
I remember how it felt. I remember exactly where I was
Mhm.
and how freeing it was, and almost scary, because now that I knew what I was, at least in the context of that group,
Mhm.
now I had a ton of responsibility that came with it.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
Do you feel the same way?
I feel the
somewhat?
same way because now I got to put my plan into action. So it's like, wow, now how do I do the steps of that? Because, like, I have a family full of entrepreneurs, but it's different, way different. It's like you guys had to build clientele, but the clientele is different.
Yeah.
And it's similar and different. So it's like I still have to like figure out my own path with it.
Good. Well, speaking of family, let's tell the listeners what we're about, like how we're connected.
Okay.
Okay. So this is my granddaughter. Okay. And what a privilege to sit here on my podcast. And hey, I'm gonna be clear and honest and say that when you're 17, you have an idealistic view, right? Right? I mean, you haven't been punched in the throat yet.
No.
Not very much.
No.
Right? You felt some stuff. But in fact, life hasn't been terrible for most 17-year-olds. And let's reflect on you. Honestly, there's been times where you look back and you say, well, that could have been different or better.
Yeah.
Based on your choices or your parents' choices or grandparents' choices, right? Things could have gone different. Maybe even, put it in quotes, better. And yet, what we talked about the other day in our long conversation is that you are who you are to some great degree because of that, right? And well, I suppose we just need to embrace it a bit,
Yeah.
and say, okay, that's my past, and like you said, God does have a reason for everything. Like he's not surprised. That's my favorite statement about him. He's not surprised by any of this.
He did it all. He
did it all. He planned it all out, and it's for our best. It's for our betterment. Well, that being said, granddaughter, but a step-granddaughter, officially, right?
Yeah.
Through marriage.
Yeah.
I met you when you were 4 years old. And you saw the picture. Was it yesterday?
Yeah.
When you were 4. And of course, you teased your mom about how she was dressed and all that. It was perfectly normal to tease.
Just funny.
Yeah. So, but my son, Jason, who married your mother, was struggling deeply with some stuff, a story that you might not know, that I hope it's okay if I tell it.
He probably
doesn't care either way, but
not.
Yeah, he probably doesn't care either way, but I'm going to tell it either way.
No choice.
He had some, I don't know if he calls it PTSD from military and from the life he chose in the military, and then some of the things he did before and after, right? And we all have some of those things, and yet his had to do with some of what happened there. And he was struggling. I remember him saying, I just don't know how to control this thing that surfaces when a certain thing happens. Like he didn't control didn't learn his triggers. He didn't understand his triggers.
Mhm.
And probably, we all get there and we all have a process of learning that because, next thing you know, we're going to have new triggers, right? But he had some that came from that, the emotional, the psychological reaction to some things that happened to him. And he was struggling deeply with it. He moved out to South Dakota, and that's where he met your mom, and was struggling because he had a little loneliness and stuff going on at that time too, but he was doing okay in college, and it's the reason he moved there was go to college. But I remember him several conversations, and I don't remember exactly what came first because it's actually been a while. But I said, well, what do you think about, Erin? Like, you're not doing this, you're not dating her because, like, as a joke, like, this is a serious deal. Oh, yeah. And she's got a daughter, right? So what do you think about that? How are you feeling about that? Because that's a big decision. And he said, Dad, what's happened to me is crazy. And the difference is that when I know that my decisions are going to affect not just her and I, but they're going to also affect a child who is in essence innocent. And my decisions are going to then reflect on that and change that. He said, that's not fair to her. So I have to get control of this. And he did. He gained a lot of control over a short period of time because he dug really deep in his triggers. And I want to thank you. I know God did it and you had nothing to do with it. You didn't even know. But I want to thank you for, like, you've been part of the process. And I watched it happen. I remember getting out of that conversation about you with him. And I remember just crying, thinking, that is not what I expected God to provide to answer that issue. Yeah. Not even close. Yeah. And then we came out and met you all, and we walked away from that, get on the plane, similar tears, like, okay, I really see how God's doing something here, and it's pretty cool. Now, has it been easy? Well, no. I like the statement I heard again today when I was listening to something, a book, and it was saying, it's simple, not easy, just simple. To trust God, to trust him for his plan. Not easy. But his plan is actually fairly simplistic. He doesn't complicate it very much. Yeah. Yeah. So there's a story you may not have known, but you've provided without even knowing it, without intending it, you've provided an accountability within the household. And you and I have even talked about that. Now there's a new level that you get to provide for the family by you growing up and becoming more mature and more emotionally mature and seeing how you fit now compared to what you did even a month or two ago before these decisions are coming, right?
I tried to keep them away as soon as possible. But college applications closed January 1st.
Yeah, so it's important to make a decision. Now, I am a big advocate for people shouldn't go, and you even mentioned this for somebody is that you can go to even 2 years at university and spend $60,000 and get a bunch of loans, and not wise, right? No, I appreciate that you're not headed down that road, but let's go do something practical. And if that leads into a higher education of some kind, then sure, absolutely.
If it's needed,
absolutely. But figure it out a little bit first before you go borrow a bunch of money to do it.
Oh yeah.
So I'm proud of you for doing that. I think that part of it was really good decision making. So what are you nervous about in this next step in your life as you say, okay, I'm here today. My greatness is, you have to maybe put that in context a little for me. Then what are you nervous about?
So my greatness, well, I don't think like greatness is like what you want yourself to be, but I'm like super excited to like very much in the future, like have kids, see you guys be great grandparents. That would be so exciting. My
great grandparents. Yeah, great. Yeah, great grandparents, right?
Yeah,
be really great great grandparents.
Yeah. And my parents be grandparents. That's just weird for me to even think about, but I don't know. I'm super excited for that. But then also like being able to grow a business and see it flourish and see it reach people like others can't. Cause like I go to the hair salon to get my hair done, but we don't talk about faith. And it's not Christian music playing in the background. I just want people to come and have an open space. And if they're not wanting to hear, then that's their choice. But it will always be a safe space for people. And then coffee, like we had coffee the other day. It's a thing for people to bond over. So I want to put those together and be able eventually to have my own business and just kind of be scheduling people that work for me to just work and be at my house with my kids.
Yeah, that's great. Those who are business owners listen to this are going, well, that sounds very idealistic.
Probably, yeah.
Right? But the struggle is, as you already know this to some degree. This because you mentioned I worked all summer and I made $3,000.
Yeah.
Well, that actually is a microcosm of the struggle and literally how the world steals your time and you don't get much back for it. Right? Oh. Taxes are killer. And the government steals your money and doesn't give you anything back for it. And that's sarcastic to say, but it's the truth.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's interesting that that's already going on. And that now we have to manage basically the stealing of our time, the stealing of our money that we actually can't completely control.
Nope. Right? Can't. They just take it out.
So where are you at right now? You're still in high school?
Yep.
Okay. And you graduate when?
It's like May 20 something.
Okay. And then what happens right after that?
Gonna move into my dad's and start school August 18th.
August 18th.
Yeah.
Okay. And both of those things are new things, new big. I mean, you're moving into your dad's in a way that you haven't done before.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I'll be treated like an adult.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Right?
Hopefully. Okay. Well,
as we know, no one knows here, but the relationship is not great. This is a safe place to live with a roof over my head, warm, food, things that are necessary. And I mean, it might not be comfortable. And I actually take that back. I know it's not going to be comfortable.
Okay.
But I'm doing it to save a little bit of money, a little bit of stress.
Because there's a lot of step brothers and sisters right?
Yeah, I have 3 brothers and 1 stepsister.
Okay. Yeah. See, so it's going to be a new environment. And then, of course, you're going to be busy because I assume you'll have to work and do school. Right. And those are both things you've got to do. Right.
Yeah. So I'll be working on the weekends and that's the only time that I can work. So that makes it really hard. And when I make $3,000 over the summer working like every day, 1 day off a week and weekends.
Yeah. And so it makes you do the math on that and it's like, wow,
well, that's
this is going to be hard. Yeah.
Well, like as long as you are looking for a super crappy apartment, it's still $1,000 a month.
Yeah.
And that's 3 months. And then I don't know what I would come up with the rest of it.
Yeah. And then where do you get phone and electric and all those things, right?
Nowhere.
Well, you got to figure those out if that becomes an issue for you. If you need someday you'll need to be out on your own, but you need to have the
right after
support
school
to do that.
I'm going.
Well, the math will reveal itself. I always say that to young business owners. Let the math talk to you because the mathematics are going to tell you if you're aware enough to pay attention.
Yeah.
So be sure and do that. Pay attention to the math. You've already started to see it.
Yeah.
But you can't see it clearly when you're in a veiled environment, which you are, and you're going to continue to be to some degree. But yeah, isn't that interesting? The math will reveal itself, and we just need to we need to choose awareness. Right.
It's a game of hustling in cosmetology school. Get into products, get into clients. So you just got to know how to.
So at what point you start in August, at what point can you get your own clients?
8 weeks. Which
8 weeks in.
Way too soon.
That seems very early.
Yeah, it's 8 weeks.
Okay, so between now and then, you need a social media presence.
Yeah, and you
social media. But then you have to go do stuff on it.
Yeah.
And talk about your story, talk about what you're up to and where you're going.
Yeah.
So that when it's time to get clients, people know. And that's an extra thing that's going to take your time. Not a lot, probably.
Yeah.
Because you're comfortable with it, but there's certain things we got to do, right?
Yeah.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah.
Any other comments on in general about greatness that you need. But well, let me say it this way. I often finish when I interview somebody, just imagine for a minute, you crawl down through this microphone and you get in their car with them. They're listening to earbuds while they're walking or running, and they're listening to you. What last piece of advice? Again, you're 17, so it's going to be it can be an idealistic piece of advice. It doesn't mean it's wrong.
It might be.
It might be, right?
Yeah.
But what would it be today? What would it be? What advice you might give yourself in 2 years, or someone you would give something to somebody today? What would it be?
Go against the current. Definitely go against the current, because I was trying to follow what I thought I was supposed to do, and that's not what I was supposed to do.
Current of who?
The world.
The world, or maybe your own brain even?
That's true. Well, we do think worldly thoughts. So
well, that's true. And in your
groups.
case, and I've done it before, it's like, well, I'm just going to stick with this thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to do this thing.
Mhm.
And then I go after it. It's like, that's not what gave me energy, number one. And it's not actually, shouldn't have been the plan all along.
Yeah.
It's to open my mind up, to open my eyes up to a bigger picture.
Mhm.
Well, good.
Go against the current and you can make a plan all you want, but God's ultimately going to direct you.
He will direct you. So go against the current and listen, be aware of his words, right?
Mhm.
His direction for you.
Mhm.
Good. Again, I'll put those words in your mouth any day I get a chance. Because who knows, over the next year or so, I might be reminding you of that exact thing.
You might.
It's
gonna be tough.
Trust him. I think he's trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
oh, he is.
He always has been for us.
Yeah.
Okay. To finish out, I always read. See, the other granddaughters got into my paper here my cheat sheet.
Helpful.
They wrote on it with a pen. They were in this room the other day and just scribbled all over. I don't know which one.
Yep.
But they were all here, so it could have been any of them.
Mm-hmm.
I always finish with this, and this is an encouragement to you and hopefully to the rest of the listeners. A quote by Zig Ziglar. And it actually speaks to what you're saying. You were designed for accomplishment, engineered for success, and endowed the seeds of greatness. And what resonates with me every time I read that is the seeds, they have to be planted, they got to be watered, they got to be in the right soil. And boy, we have an opportunity in life. Doesn't matter if we're 17 or 61. We have an opportunity, and we need to use it to get to the next step of what ultimately is that greatness. Which for us, we picture being with Jesus someday, right? We picture and then actually being good with it, because we lived a life that it was always headed towards greatness. Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks for the time.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. And now I'm going to give my very last and usual call to action to all of you listeners. And it's a tagline. My kids love to tease me about it, but it actually seems to resonate, or they wouldn't say it so often. Right. Now, go be great. It's your choice.